we have an agreement on the firm. Is this, yeah, so this is the one, right?
Yep, Walker Erickson.
So it's Walker Erickson.
If you, let me just say this, we don't need to spend, for my benefit, we don't need to spend a lot of time. If you wanna give us a 2-minute
Yep.
overview of why you chose these
Yep.
guys.
I wanted to be respectful of you needing to vote just based on, I didn't want to assume that you would be comfortable taking a vote just based on what I'm telling you. And if you weren't comfortable, I totally respect that, and if we needed to provide you more information, I think that's a
I'm
legitimate
I'm
request.
totally comfortable with that, but I am just curious. I
Yes.
don't wanna take a lot of time, but I would love to hear,
So we
again,
start-
2-3 minutes just on how,
Yeah.
why,
So we started
these
with,
guys.
we started with 4 firms. You saw the RFP was, I would say, a fairly extensive and, specific RFP. We started with 4 firms. After the RFP came back, one of the firms we fairly quickly removed, I would say removed it, and again, others can respond. We removed them because I would say their RFP response was a cut and paste. Was really just kind of a quick, we need to get something in. I didn't see a lot of thought going into our specific situation or anything like that. So
Yeah.
I think we all kind of agreed with the extent of the RFP. I don't want to badmouth anybody, but it was sort of clear that 3 had taken the effort and knew us a little more to put in that time. So then the next step was meeting with representatives of the 3 firms. So Walker Erickson was the first firm that came in. I would say also the focus of the committee was particularly on community involvement and engagement and making sure that we are listening to the community, involving them early on, being transparent, because it's as much about the process as it is about the solutions. As actually Walker Erickson brought up, saying, you can come up with great solutions, but if you don't have the community on board with them in the end, to your point, it doesn't go anywhere. So that is a critical part, and one of the representatives from Walker Erickson was quite impressive.
Is it also, though, a potential risk that on the flip side, too much community involvement ends up with paralysis and not a clear direction
Sure.
as to what we're supposed to do?
Yes, and so I think fair point, I get, it's the facilitation of the community involvement that's very important. I think
Okay.
you have to be a skilled person that can, as we know kind of how it's gonna go, what's gonna happen, what, people wanna be heard, all those things. I think that's all great, that's all important, but we need someone who can help navigate that and get us from point A to point Z. And
Right.
the gentleman from Walker Erickson, clearly, I think we all agreed, can do that.
They get that.
He's got the knowledge, he's got the capabilities, and then our concern was sort of, and, is this a bait and switch? Is he the sales guy?
That's what I was gonna
Yeah, is he
ask.
the sales guy, and then someone else is gonna come in? And so we did go back and say, we need to commit. He gave the commitment in the meeting, because we asked him that question.
70%, right?
Yeah, and Bart went back to him again and said, we need confirmation, and I would say he provided us a level of confirmation that we feel comfortable. He will be the one facilitating all of the public meetings, not someone in his stead. He will be actively involved in this project. I think when we heard that, and again, got the reaffirmation of that, we felt comfortable that they would address that very well.
Yeah.
And can I just add in one other thing? The level of expertise of this firm blew away anybody else that I have seen, including the other applicants. So that was very impressive, and that's why we were like, well, why Shorewood? Because they have some really big clients, and they have a database of, I think, Peter, you were inquiring, of the thousands of different methods and of solutions for parking and for transportation that they can access at any time. We really felt like the expertise of the firm was very high. And when we talk about public input, one of the things they really impressed me on was knowing that paralysis can happen. We just need to get the right people. Who do we need to talk to if we change these regulations? Landlords, renters, really nailed it.
Yeah,
So I
that's
felt really
good.
comfortable with that.
Yeah, the second firm, I would say, did a good job. They understand Shorewood. They had some more knowledge, and that was beneficial, but to me, it was between the first firm that presented and the third firm. I thought the third firm did an outstanding job.
Yep.
I thought it was I would say it was a tough call.
Yeah.
For all of us, I think, and I think, again, I don't wanna speak for anybody else on the committee. I think part of it too was, I think there's an opportunity for a new voice.
That's what I was just gonna
In
ask.
the
These guys
new-
have never done work for the village.
Work for us,
right?
and I, you know.
I kinda like that.
Yeah, that.
Yeah, that-
You know,
That
again,
could be a
people,
good thing.
I think it will help, I think it will focus the process on the actual issues. And I think
Yeah.
there won't be any.
Baggage?
I hate that word, but that's exactly the words that are going around in my
It's okay,
head.
you can say-
There
yeah,
won't be-
I
I
understand
don't
what
think
you're
there will
saying.
be any of that.
Yeah, nobody's upset about his prior decision.
Yeah, yeah.
Which is it's
It's
unfortunate that has to
happened,
come
yeah.
into the decision, but
With-
I have to be honest and say, I think, in speaking to, because I haven't really been involved in any other projects where maybe other firms were involved, but I did hear some of that, so I think that is a factor in the decision.
Yeah, no, I think that's a very real thing, so
Yeah.
it should factor in.
Were the prices rather comparable?
Right in line, I would say they're all right in
I
line.
mean, this is not the cheapest option, but this
Correct.
is, we're comfortable with the differential.
It's not the
Yeah.
most expensive either.
Yep.
You know, and I think to Allison's point, so this is a national firm, they've got experience, they all have experience nationally, but, we're looking for creative solutions to some challenging problems that we don't have space to just fix it by bumping things out and all those things. And they have a knowledge base, they have a fairly formalized process by which they track some of what they've done in other communities. I like that, so I think it's, again, certainly you can call people and you can gather information, but I think this way of, we're dealing with this issue, here are 4 communities where we have a similar issue, here's what they did, does this, and I think that flow of solutions is
And the
something.
last thing I just wanted to say was, I was very impressed with, what's gonna happen, we have our web-based system is Duncan, and for parking downtown, in the business district, everywhere. And they have a lot of knowledge about what comes next, like if you make changes to your regulations, do we need to upgrade our technology to something cheaper? We're paying a lot of fees, a huge amount of fees, so they would look over our contract and they have the knowledge base to recommend the technology that might need to be upgraded.
Yeah.
Did you say that they started to say why they wanted to do business with Shorewood, since we're a mile and a half, city?
They didn't.
They didn't.
I was just shocked.
That's a good question. They've done a lot of work. They've done a lot of work in Wildwood, in local,
Oh,
they know the
They
area.
know, yeah.
Yeah,
It's
so
not
they've
like-
done things
they
nearby.
Totally, yes, yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
And mathematics,
Yeah.
They're, the 2 leads are both in northern Illinois and Chicago, so they're Midwest. It's not like they're coming from, their travel isn't gonna be extensive to come here, they're basically local.
So they know about snow.
They do know, yes, exactly.
They've seen snow.
It's actually
Because right now, I'm
important,
really,
right?
really pissed at snow.
I'm pissed at ice. So, okay,
No, that
so-
makes, I personally don't need any more discussion, I don't know if Michael
Yeah.
does,
I mean,
but,
not to belabor the point, but I agree with everything that's been said. They balance traffic and parking well, broad-based expertise, comfortable with them explaining and guiding the public discussion, their commitment, the leadership commitment to time that, 70% of the meeting and then the filming afterwards. So I just wanted to reiterate everything that has been said and express my support as well.
Yeah,
And last, I just wanted to add, I was so impressed with the 4 of us, the process was very smooth, and it's one of the best that I've participated in, so I really appreciate everyone's time.
And the last thing I will say is, this is an aside, I think, but again, as we bring the community forward, we all know that there have been some concerns with transparency, with communication to the public about what's going on. The CDA has been, at the center of some of that, and I think this project is specifically for parking and transportation, but I think the way we go about it is
Yeah.
very important. I think this gives us an opportunity to show the transparency that I think we all have been doing and demonstrating
Yeah.
on this CDA. So, I think we should keep that in mind, that we are communicating to the public as much about the transportation and parking as we are about our process and method and wanting to let them know what's going on. I think that people will be looking to see how that process goes,
Yeah.
if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, it is tangential, but I think it's an important component.
You're right.
I agree.
All right,
So-
so we need a motion,
We do.
and I guess the motion, I would move that,
I'm sorry, we are recommending to the
We are
board?
recommending to the board to
Yes.
enter the contract.
so we need a.
With Walker.
With Walker
Consultants.
Go ahead, no, you were in the meeting, you did.
I moved to,
Wait, can I ask a formal question here? Are we recommending to the board to enter into the contract on our behalf? So in other words, you are entering into a contract by this motion. Is that correct, Mark?
Well, from my perspective, you've agreed to pay for a portion of the study, but that study would be engaged by the village.
The board has to approve
So,
it, right?
I mean, I would recommend to the board, the CDA's preference on vendors. And the approval of the funds, then we would just transfer those funds and apply that towards paying for those services. So I'd be comfortable either way.
Okay, thank you.
so I think, so based on those two comments, I think the motion is, I move that, I move to recommend that the board enter into a transportation and parking analysis, with Walker Consultants on the CDA's behalf. I think that's right.
Or is it, does that work?
It works for me.
Works for me.
All right, do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I,
All right, motion passes. Thank you, everybody. Oh, yeah, come on, kick in the donuts. All
it's about time
right.
someone broke into the donuts.
All right, you wanna take us through your,
Yeah, so I can briefly go over the contents of the planning report. If anyone has questions, feel free to jump in. Don't need to go into too much detail here, but the first item is, so in relation to the parking study, so myself, village clerk Sarah Brockman, and customer service director Diane DeWitt Hall, we met with Ogden. They own the parcel with Wells Fargo, Stone Creek, and Casa de Corazon. The village currently has an agreement to sell 25 overnight parking permits. With the construction of Casa de Corazon happening, they're blocking off the back of it, and those will be gone essentially forever as that gets converted into a parking lot. So we met with them on modifying that agreement. There's a 60-day notice period, so we're working with them on confirming that up.
I'm sorry, did you say Ogden owns
Ogden Real
all
Estate.
that property?
Yep.
Okay,
Yep. So they've reached out to us, or kind of mutually, we've been talking to get that cleaned up. So just in terms of the parking sphere, there's a lot of different agreements going on, and that's just one of them. So with the construction of that now starting, that is being modified, or looking to be modified, I should say. I have been following up with the broker for North Shore Legion. As many of you live in the community, I'm sure you've heard different, things or rumors. Nothing has been officially, closed or finalized. The village has no further information than anyone else might have. But I do get a lot of questions from people, because everyone keeps hearing things. But I can just say from the village's perspective, nothing is official.
But they're still engaged in selling the property, so that sale is still.
Well, they
Yes.
actually had an offer, and they went to approve it, but they didn't have quorum. They didn't have enough Legion members there. I don't know who it was, that's what I heard.
And like I said, I'm sure a lot of you have heard things, because I keep getting people telling me they heard things, but in terms of my office, nothing has
Nothing
passed through
official,
officially.
formal.
Yep. It's the next one here.
yeah. All I know is that it's off, it's under contract in the MLS.
Okay.
'Cause
Yeah.
I have access to that.
Okay.
That's the only thing I know.
The next
Does
one,
it say who?
No, that's not public knowledge, but
Okay.
it's not, it's marked as unavailable.
Okay.
Or under contract.
The next one, I don't know if President Rosick or Chair Hammond want to weigh in on this one at all, but the staff and President Rosick and Chair Hammond did meet with Ascension last week to discuss the taxable nature of their parcel. It's been kind of a question at the CDA level for, some time. I can go over my take, or you wanna?
So I guess, so their current space is taxable. I would say their approach has been, they do have, under state law, they do have the option to select tax exempt status, but they have not and currently have no intention of selecting that status. They are also, so it
But
will be.
there's a reason for that.
It will be a
because
tax,
the
right.
format, like, there has to be this link between their programming, between the hospital's healthcare methods and their clinics,
Yeah.
and then the price ranges, and their connection is not that strong.
Well, and they're also, so they're, right, so the way they can claim this exemption is basically the connection between the hospital and the clinic. That there's sort of a direct line, that the clinic is just an extension of the hospital. And therefore,
And
to
then if
Allison's
that is the
point,
case, then they are.
then they can select the tax exempt
Yeah.
status if they want. But that has an implication to pricing at the clinic, and so, again, this is just, it was 3 people from the firm talking to us, just words at this point, but they are having extensive discussions internally about, having the clinic be more independent, because that gives them more flexibility on pricing, to lower prices, make it more accommodating to the village. They did say, we want to be a good village participant, we understand, we can't come in under negative PR and expect the community to